I'm Kahja Elliott, and I'm a food enthusiast. Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming. And I talk to people about how they create community through food in the Bay and beyond. Welcome to the As Told By podcast. Welcome back. We are back. The As Told By podcast is back for season 7. It's been a while. I hope y'all missed me. I missed y'all. I'm kicking off the season with a good conversation. Looking forward to this. Talking to my homie. He's a fellow podcaster and a community storyteller. He's the host of the Meet Me in Napa podcast, which is all about the ecosystem of people, business, industry, and community in the Valley. Welcome, Jeremy Jackson of the Meet Me in Napa podcast to the As Told By podcast.
Hey. How you doing?
What's up?
We just sipping on some of this Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know if you want to shout the brand out, but it's some Burgess, Napa Valley Burgess 2022 Sauvignon Blanc that a friend gifted me at the barbershop the other day. One of the things that I love about Napa, but I love being at the barbershop, is that I service a lot of people in the wine industry. Mm-hmm. So they tip me in wine. Oh, so I have
that's a good tip.
Privilege of drinking a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't, not to say I wouldn't experience it, but it would take me a long time before I arrived to it. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, Well, good enough. Look, wine tipping ain't bad, tipping to have. And we definitely are sipping. Thank you so much. It's, starting the season off, not quite traveling. I didn't get on a flight, but I did drive up here to Napa. So thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. I'm sorry we couldn't host you to some really good Napa food, but we got some chicken wings here. And my wife hooked it up. She hooked it up. That little salad thing, was it tomato? What was it called?
It was an heirloom tomato.
Heirloom tomato thing.
Yeah. Tomatoes. And there was was that burrata? Okay, there we go. Balsamic was on there. Yeah. I'm not complaining. In fact, I went ahead and canceled my dinner reservation because, why buy when you don't have to?
Right.
Okay. Well, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to just mention first and foremost, I know it's a little bit of an early congratulations, but the podcast Meet Me in Napa is coming up on a 1-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April 1st will be the official 1 year.
Okay.
And we're going to, an announcement hasn't been made yet, but the weekend of May 30th and 31st.
We're about to get an exclusive?
When's this coming out?
This coming out in a couple of days. You ain't got to wait.
What? Well, I can say this because I can't say everything yet. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is the community has partnered with me, and we're going to have a celebration brunch style at a winery. And then on Sunday, the one thing I can say is the beautiful Katie at Whitehall Lane on Sunday, we're going to do pickleball, and she's going to open up her space to have an open house for the community to come and just celebrate and just, meet the podcasters. I'm going to have a couple of people that I've interviewed there and just really just hang out and pour wine and just celebrate what's going on because their people are really excited about what I'm doing, which I'm happy, I'm grateful for. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for. So, but there is a bigger announcement, but I can't say it here.
All right. Well, y'all stay tuned so that when the announcement is made, you know all about it. But in the meantime, you can get some brunch and some Prosecco and some pickleball going.
Yes. Follow me on Meet Me in Napa podcast and you will see the announcement. Yes.
There you go. Now, let me tell you what I did not know. I was today years old when I found out that Meet Me in Napa was actually a song from Larry June.
Yeah,
y'all know I'm not from the West Coast, so I didn't know that.
I want to say this because I first heard of Larry June about 2018, mm-hmm. 17, 18. And then what's interesting, I went to he's been around since 2013. Mm-hmm. He's been rapping. So I went to his old back catalog and there was actually some songs that I actually knew. Nothing really big, but I knew, but I didn't know it was him. And when we first moved out here, I was really, really, really into Larry June. I think he probably is the most popular rapper in the Bay Area right now. Besides him and Lil Russell.
They probably be coming for your throat now listening to that. People got a lot to say.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true. But yeah, so he had the song. So mind you, I've been living out here for a couple years and what's interesting now, this is an exclusive because I never really told this story before.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So what happened was I just moved out here. I was working I work at a barbershop, and me and my wife, we were just living. We were living in Napa. We were enjoying the valley. We were enjoying the life of living in the valley, the social circles.
How long have you been out this way?
2020? 21.
It's about 5 years.
Yeah. So this year, it's been 5 years, and it just made 5 years actually. But I was coming out here prior to that, before I moved out here. So I started coming to Napa Valley about 2017, and but I moved here in 21. And so, anyways, fast forward, we moved here. We've been here. I think that song came out like 2023. I want to say. So 23, 24, regardless of the fact, the podcast, the guy that I do the podcast with, we were talking about it. So he had the studio. He's one of my clients. And I'll just tell you how God works, because he was sitting in my chair and he goes, man, he has this warehouse space. And he goes, I've been thinking about converting it to like a podcast studio, like an art space. I was like, really?
A word.
I was like, really? I was like, I want to do a podcast. And I did an audio only podcast during COVID. And at the time, I interviewed some family members. I reached out to some friends, and I did like 7-8 episodes, and it was really good. I enjoyed it, but I thought to myself, I said, well, this is fun. I think I felt like I was good at it, but the work that I had to put in for audio only to become something really big at the time, I just didn't have the space to do it. You understand that because you're doing audio only.
Absolutely.
When you add that visual side to it, it can help catapult it a lot faster.
Yes.
But so I kind of just was like, okay, this is cool. I like it. And I just, put it on the back burner. So when I moved here, the guy was talking about it. And so that happened around 24. We're in 26. The years are going by so quick. I don't know what's what. I don't know what's what. So around December, around 24, he had came to me. No, it was about fall of 24. Don't know the right month.
That's okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But
he came to you.
He came to me, yeah. So he told me the story about him wanting to convert his workspace into a podcast place. So I was like, hey, let's do it. I was like, I want to do one.
Yeah.
And so as he was doing that, I want to say that song came out around that time. And I have to fact check that. But even if it was before, it was fairly new. And so I was trying to figure out a name that I wanted to do. So the concept was there, like, of interviewing people in Napa, because the first thing I thought about was, well, okay, you're Jeremy Jackson, you're a barber, but there's no high level influence that would draw attention to your podcast. So what would draw people to wanting to hear or watch? I said, talk about Napa Valley, right? I live here, I work here, I have relationships here. People tentatively already said yes before we were even launching.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do something that the community could get by, because one thing I knew for sure was that everybody in the world comes here, right? Everybody
should.
Yeah, if they haven't, yeah, everybody. Well, when I say everybody in the world, everybody who's somebody and can afford.
Well, that's a commercial. Right, everybody who's somebody comes to Napa.
Everybody who's somebody and can afford it, they do. It's one of the places people are on their hit list. Like, we want to go to see the Eiffel Tower. We want to see the pyramids. We want to. The people in other places around the world are like, I want to go to wine country. It's really a thing. So, and I learned that really quickly. So, anyways, as we were going, I was like, one day I was in the barbershop and I was like, I'm going to meet me in Napa.
It came to you like,
it just came to me. I think I might have been listening to it on the way to work or something. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hijack that name.
There you go.
Now, I wish I could have called Larry myself and told him, but if he ever hears this, I'm not going to say I'm his number one fan, but I'm one of his biggest fans. I still listen to his music. I know his catalog. My wife gets
Larry,
tired of it.
Larry, you need to come on the podcast.
And we got a little mini schnauzer. And I wanted to name her Jezebel first. But my
poor dog. I'm glad you did not get that lot.
I wanted to like be down the street, like you know how a dog run out the door, you'd be like Jezebel. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So my wife, she shut that down, and so we were trying to figure out names. Did you come up? I think she might have came up. Well, we kind of came up. We were like, what? That's what it is. I was listening to Larry so much. She was like, well, what about Larry?
The dog's name is Larry.
So we named the dog Larry.
Larry, you need to come. Larry June. You need to come on the podcast.
Yeah, but I promise this is not going to turn into one of those I'm stalking outside of his house. I'm your number one fan movies. Yeah, this ain't going to be one of those. Nah, but he's from San Francisco, so as are you. The other connection is he's from the same neighborhood where my grandparents live. Mm-hmm. They live in Hunters Point, where they're rest in peace. They're gone now. But my family, my cousins. So when I grew up, before I moved to Fairfield, a lot of my years my parents were in Daly City, but a lot of my time was spent in Hunters Point with my cousin. I have a cousin, and we're 9 months apart. Mm-hmm. And so I spent a lot of time over there in Hunters Point. So I know the neighborhood, still have family there. My aunt still lives there. My cousin still lives there.
You know the culture. I
know the culture.
Yeah.
I used to play basketball at this place called the Gym. There's a Martin Luther King pool down the street on 3rd. Like I was all around there. Mm-hmm. And so when he, once he came along, I'm like, oh, this guy's from Hunters Point, and so that was kind of like my own connection to his music, on top of it being a real good artist. So
you could see yourself in it.
Yeah, definitely. When he talked about driving down certain streets, I'm like, oh, I know that. One of his album cover pictures in his car was taken in front of this burger spot that was right down the street that we used to always go to. So yeah.
Well, you talk about your family. I know you told me you're from San Francisco originally, and I always ask people this when they come to the podcast, because I think this question informs a lot of how you see people show up later in life. What kind of food family did you come from?
What kind of food family?
Yes.
Like what my parents cook all the time?
No, some people came from a food family where, like, for example, latchkey kids, and we had to come in and everything was in the microwave, and we just grew up in a microwave food life. Some people's nope, it was like the traditional family where they throwing down on Sundays, or we was in the restaurants.
Yeah. So my mom and dad, I would say a part of it was latchkey, but I had a brother that's 9 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So he, to this day, is still traumatized because he was like the babysitter. He still talks about it to this day. Like,
Jeremy, you getting on my damn nerves.
I didn't get to have my teenage years because I had to watch you all the time. Me and my sister. So, but yeah, it was like one of those things. My parents, they had jobs. They, when I worked, they're still together to this day. 56 years, I think, is coming up on. And but I was raised heavy in the church, so I was that church life kid. Still had my family, the outside of the church and all that kind of stuff that, I had family, but I was that church life kid. Like when it was Bible study Wednesday, Awanas,
vacation Bible school in the summer. Yeah, all the things.
My church family was part of they were extended family. Like they're still, I used to call my god sisters. They weren't officially, but the pastor, and he had 5 daughters, and they used to watch me, and I was the one of the young ones running around. So that's how I grew up. Sundays they used to do, and it was a real community church. It wasn't like mega church, big churches today.
You don't even know the people.
Yeah, you don't even know the people. Like we used to be at the pastor's house. You knew everybody. You ate Sunday after. We used to do church plays during the
right. And okay, so I read just in my research of you that you grew up really like loving speaking, right? And things around like speaking and broadcasting. And now that you're talking about church, I would bet some money on this. I could be wrong, but
put your money on it now before you say it, because you probably right.
You remember when the church would do like the MLK speeches that you could do for the church, and that would be like the first time kids would realize, oh, I really like public speaking, or adults would realize, oh, this child is very, articulate, and they don't mind getting up in front of people and talking. Yeah. Was that you?
That was me.
Okay.
So I used to.
I should have put the money up.
I told you to do it before you said it. I used to be so enamored by. Well, there's 2 things. His name is Reverend Pastor Hamilton Scott, and rest in peace. Him and his wife, just beautiful people. Never forget them. And one thing I always remember about he's back then it was like I say it was really family. Like you come at the end of church, he's shaking everybody's hands, and he give you a kiss on the cheek or something. And he used to have this mustache, and I used to wait to get kissed because it would itch my cheek, and I used to love the itch. I don't know, it's you have these childhood memories.
Yes.
It's just crazy. But he used to get his megaphone, and he would go. So in Hunters Point, there's this neighborhood. There's a street. It's called Harbor Road. And if you're from anybody who ever listens, who's really from the old school Bay, there's a rap group called RBL Posse, and they rapped from that. They're from that part of and that's where Larry June is from.
Okay.
So back in the 80s and early 90s, he used to get a megaphone and stand on the corner and preach the gospel to them. I mean, I'm talking about killers and thugs and drug dealers and dope fiends.
He was out there with the killers and the $100 bills.
But they loved him. And my dad would be out there, and I used to be standing there. Like, I didn't go all the time, but I remember vividly there were moments that they'd take me with them, you know? So that's like, I had a real experience there in Hunters Point. It was right there on 3rd and Oakdale. And there used to be a bus stop there, and there used to be a McDonald's across the street. And I remember we used to get out of church because my mom and dad went to high school out there. So they knew, you know, we ever go to high school, you grow up, you live there, it's your community. And we'd be walking into McDonald's after church, and it'd be somebody with no teeth. Now, mind you, this is like late 80s, early 90s. So the crack epidemic is crazy.
Yeah.
And somebody with no teeth would come up to my dad and be like, hey, Alvin, there was and my dad would be like, can you buy me a burger or something? And my dad will do it. And then I'll be like, well, Dad, who's that? He'd be like, oh, somebody I used to go to school with or something, you know?
Oh, wow. It's probably like that. You know, you're running into people at all, you know, when you're somewhere that you grew up.
Yeah.
You run into people from all these intersections. So you come from this background, San Francisco, a very family, community-minded environment in your house, outside of your house. Now you're living in Napa. You're working as a barber. You said, when did you I know the person told you, the client said, hey, you know, I have a podcasting studio, and it kind of met the moment that you were already thinking about it. But when did you have that moment where you actually said, okay, this is something I'm going to do and I'm going to get started? And I ask you that because this is where a lot of people get hung up, I think. I hear people often talk about wanting to start a podcast, or they have started putting together the preliminary steps. You know, they have a name and they have like the topics they want to talk about or who they're going to interview, if that's the style of podcast it is. But for some reason, they just can't pull the trigger on it. Yeah. What made you say, all right, number one, I'm about to do this, and number two, I'm about to get started doing it right now?
I guess it's interesting because I've watched many other podcasts, and people always I hear people ask that question, and you're waiting for like this thing to hear. And it's not this thing. Cause for me, I actually tried it years ago around 2008 or 9. It used to be called internet radio.
Oh,
so I hooked up with this guy.
Can we Google it?
I don't even think it's. He might have it if I get big enough.
Okay.
He might pull it out. Like,
roll it out on an episode of Unsung.
Yeah, right. No, true story. But it was called internet radio. Now here's the thing. I only did about 3 episodes. But so the passion and the desire was always there. Like the calling. It's gonna get too deep.
Go ahead now.
No, it's gonna get too deep. Babe, can you turn the fan on, please? I'm sorry.
We hot. And I'm leaving that in.
Yeah, leave it right there. No, we at the house. We chilling. We in our kitchen.
Thank you so much for inviting me. When people invite you to their house, when people invite me to their house to do this podcast, it just always feels so good to me because this is where people live and they stay. And I'm always so honored. Y'all made me a lovely spread of like food to eat. Thank y'all so much.
But so I did that back then, and I kind of went through this topsy-turvy seasons of my life where like I was like, I thought I wanted to be a preacher. I tried to preach, but that's a whole nother like journey, right, that I've been on. But I've always been enamored with just public speaking in general. Even when my mom, like you talked about the MLK speeches, when I was a kid, my mom was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, I want to be a motivational speaker. Oh. That's what I wanted to be as a kid. I was enamored. I used to always read speeches by Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. The typical, the black,
yes,
black pop movement folks and stuff like that. And so I just always been enamored with it. So fast forward to today, when we talk about Napa, I told myself when I did the audio only during COVID, I said, I want to do this, but I want to do it the way that I'm doing it now. I told myself then, I'm not going to approach this again unless I can do it this way. And then the opportunity came to me, several years later. So once it came, it was a no-brainer.
Okay.
It was just about how do I formulate it? What am I going to talk about? And I think I think God did it that way because there was so much inconsistency in my life from a young kid to about I would say to about late 30s. You know what I mean? There was just a lot of, not that I was like doing terrible, but there was a lot of inconsistency.
Yeah.
And so I think the perfect opportunity came once I was stable and balancing who I am, my vision, and all that kind of stuff.
Because when you grow up in the church and then you in life, sometimes it's just always, it ain't always.
Yeah. You gotta unlearn and relearn a lot of religion.
Yes.
You do, and I love, and I say this with all respect because there's a lot of people that I loved who are still, heavy into certain theological viewpoints. And I'm not that one thing that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go on a campaign to change nobody else's mind about nothing. I just got to, and that's why I say just standing who I am. It's like not only standing what I believe or what I think, but standing is strong enough to be like, it don't matter whatever close relationships I have, that's not going to influence how I'm going to go about how I'm going to go about it.
Yeah.
And still with love, and I still love these people.
And we just believe different things.
Yeah, we just believe different things. But and I think that oftentimes internally things I wrestle with was like, just because I don't believe it that way, people assume you just don't believe, and that's not true either. But like I said, that's a whole nother thing. This is about Napa and wine.
That's okay. You said it's about Napa and wine, and I mean that is of course an obvious connection for a podcast called Meet Me in Napa. So talk about the origins of the podcast being really about talking to people in the wine space and then getting to a point where you started to segue into other things that may not necessarily be wine in such an obvious manner, but was still impactful and relative to life and concerns and interests in the region.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back. It was very intentional for me, and I would say segue, like, even I believe I always tell people this was Jesus' first miracle. So I still tie in my
come on now, come on,
I'm still
somebody.
tying my belief into this. That's in the Bible. It was his first miracle, right? Before he did anything, he made some wine.
Hey, look it up.
but back to what you were saying. So I wanted to highlight the Valley, but I don't want it to become a wine podcast only. Number one, even though I'm talking to very, influential and important people in the wine industry, I myself am not an expert. So as I build my audience, I don't want my audience to come to me as an expert in the space. And so I often tell people, when we were kids, we grew up watching Donahue, Oprah,
Caller, are you there?
Yeah, Ricky Lake, right?
Yes.
We didn't know what guest was going to be on every day. We just had to come home, turn on the TV, and see what it was about. And that's the platform that I want to build. Even though it's still centered around the Valley, it's like I'm not just talking to wine people. I talk to a sheriff officer. I talk to a congressman. I talked to a lady from Vallejo, which is the neighboring city to Napa, because she has this nonprofit organization that it's very community building and stuff like that. And it was important to me that as I build my platform that I incorporate Black voices in my podcast. Yeah, because Napa's a predominantly Latino and white space, right? And so. Yes, I have connections with the few people who are doing things here that are Black, but you just can't get all of them, and then you're gonna run out after 9 or 10 episodes, right? Interviews, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to attract people that are. The concept is highlight the community of Napa Valley, but if I have somebody who's not from Napa, they're still meeting me in Napa. Because when we do the interview,
like that.
It's like you're here right now in Napa, right?
Yes.
You met me in Napa to do this interview. So it works both ways. So I'm building that in real time. And I also learned that you have to mold your clientele. You have to mold your clientele into what they're going to expect from you.
Yes.
So I have to continue to throw different conversations in there that have absolutely nothing to do with the wine. So they're like, oh wait, he does this too. And I can hold multiple conversations on multiple levels about multiple things. Cause I'm not a one trick pony when it comes to conversation. I'm a barber.
So this is so important, right? I want to parallel park here for a minute because it's very easy to get boxed into a format, right? And I always think that where you're geographically located, sometimes that works for you. Sometimes that's an advantage.
Yeah.
If you are in the Bay, and then, okay, let's drop down a little bit more micro. If you're in Napa, and let me take a step back first. I think there's so much value in centering Black stories, if that is what you are doing, whether that is in food, in wine, in music, in art, in whatever. But I do think if you are geographically located in a certain place, you will cap out. And the Bay Area is one of those places. And for damn sure, Napa is one of those places because I don't spend tons of time up here. I'm probably underutilizing my access to Napa. But when I come up here, it doesn't feel, I won't say it feels homogenous, but I would say that it feels like maybe there's a refresh that is on the way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because from what I could see, there's a median age, right, of folks that are here, and eventually life cycles will turn that over. I do find myself wondering when I'm here, what does Napa look like in 15 years, right? When there's a new demographic of who the adults are in the space. So I love that you are thinking forward about not being relegated just to the thing that people automatically, obviously connect with the region.
Right.
Good for you. I mean, I started this podcast and it was a number of things because you start, you're still feeling it out. You don't know what you want to do. Do I even want to do a podcast long term? I was leaving all kind of back doors open for me to get out of it. If I didn't feel like I wanted to do it anymore. But as it evolved, I had to learn, okay, it's really food is the conversation that I want to be having. But besides that, right, like you're not in food per se, but wine and food and Napa and podcasting, those, there's a through line here. And that's how we end up talking to people every few episodes who don't have some obvious connection to the food space,
right? But
there's still something that's related to why you might be listening to this podcast that you can glean from this conversation. So good for you for not getting boxed in.
I got two things. One is we never cheers.
Oh, we didn't cheers?
We didn't cheers.
We're gonna rewind.
Hold on. We gonna pour you a little bit because you ain't been sipping.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm over here just drinking, and you gonna get me all deep.
I still want to be able to give a cogent interview, so I've been sipping slowly, but there's a cheers.
Cheers, yes, cheers.
Thank you so much. He had to take us back to make sure we did that, y'all.
There's no good conversation in Napa Valley that doesn't start with a glass of wine.
Listen, you got these sound bites rolling.
Not one.
I can't remember the other one you said, but I was like, oh, that's a commercial. Somebody needs to get a magazine contract out for that. You talk about managing your audience's expectations of you as this project evolves, because it's come to include, as you said, politics, authors, advocacy work. What do you think is the through line between all of those things, where if I was a listener that came for the wine, I'm now encouraged to stay for these other things?
It's real life journeys. I want the thread to be the process of how people got to where they go or where they are. Because that's important to me, right? I remember, I kind of told you, this came to me now because I was stable. When I say I was unstable, that looks different for everybody, right? Respective to their journey. For me, you go through the stage where it's like, well, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? And I was just in a space where I was working, I was living, but I knew I wasn't in my purpose. And so when I talk to people, I like to really get to how did you get to what you're doing? How did that process, the mindset, what were the events that took place? You know, we can talk about the wine and we can talk about whatever it is that people are a master in, right? But what is it that got you there? And I think that's a common thread in almost every conversation that I had. Excuse me. Outside of maybe a couple of the political ones, because those are very like straightforward, right? We're talking about politics, right? Yeah. But how, and I would say that even in those conversations, I always talk about, hey, what led you to this? And before we get into what is your stance on situations, so yeah, that's for me. Cause that was always an unanswered question I had for myself for a long time. So I want people, hopefully when they watch it, if maybe they're, weighing on the lines of trying to figure out something, make a change or shift, that common thread is through all the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, there has to be where there's a little bit of something for everyone there.
Yeah.
And if you're in the region, there's definitely something for you there, even if you're outside of it. But if you're in the region specifically, there's something for you there because you may be impacted by some of those conversations that are happening. You talked about your format, and we're going to go into that a little bit more in a minute. But I would love to know a little bit. Don't give up all your secrets now. But I want to know a little bit about the behind the scenes of your process. Like I'll tell you, for me, it's the reach out. It's the research of the person, because this is a mobile in-person interview series. I'm coming to where people are. So I'm in people's restaurant, or I'm in your home, or I'm in your bakery or whatever, interviewing you in person. I have my little mobile setup. It looks like a little suitcase I roll around with, and I have a recording setup. And then as soon as the recording is over, I whisk out my SD card, upload that to a Dropbox, do an initial listen. I listen for any places where I want to edit out, noises, sounds. If there's something the person was like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. All the things I go through and do an edit.
Timestamp that up.
Right. Timestamp it. And then I send a list of my timestamps to my podcast editor, and I tell them everything I need. I need you to take out this. I need you to take out that, this, and add the intro and outro. Shout out to TK at DiffWorks, and he goes ahead and whips that up for me, sends me the completed file, and off we go. Yeah. So tell me high level, the behind the scenes of Meet Me in Napa.
So like I told you, the gentleman, his name is Philip. He's at Action House. He has Action House Studios. He's the one that initially, that was the first connection. So he used to be a journalist. Not used to be, he still is, but he used to be a journalist like full time. And then he, now he does a lot of consulting work with like helping people with social media, brands, and how, that's what his day job is. So he's the first guy. So he has the camera set up, the recording, the lights, all that stuff. And then organically, a family friend of mine, Marcus, we went to his house. Me and my wife went to his house because my wife and his wife were the best friends before we even knew each other. And one day we went to their house, and I was in his office. This is all around the same time when we were getting ready to start. We haven't even filmed the episode yet. And so he had like a camera on his desk. He had all this stuff set up. And I said, are you about to like create content or something? He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about it. I've been doing this. He's like, but I don't know. I want to get started and such. He's like, I don't want to be on the camera. I'm not, I want to do more of a faceless. I said, well, I'm about to start a podcast. You want to do some editing for me? He was like, yeah, I'll do it. And it just that simple. And so like literally from day one, it's been Philip and Marcus, and that's like, they are my anchors, right, in this whole thing. Like what I'm doing, where I have gotten would not be anywhere because without them, without those two guys. And then shortly after we started, another gentleman named Percy, Mr. Percy in Motion on Instagram. He's one of the best videographers and like making content for social media. I met him. I was doing an interview with the lady, and she brought him. She was like, "Do you mind if I bring my photographer?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." So he came, and black dude, right? So he comes in there, and he like, we see when he came in, I wasn't expecting another, brother to walk in,
You wasn't? His name is Percy.
but I didn't know his name.
Oh, okay.
At the time.
I'm about to say, I don't know no white person.
Yeah, I don't know no white person.
Not said it don't exist, but I don't know him.
But at the time, I didn't know his name.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went in there, and he came in, and I was like, okay, and then we hit it off, we talked, and he just organically lended his services to me, because I ain't had no money to pay him at the time. Still don't, but I do be paying. I do be paying now because it's grown, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But he just threw his services at my disposal when he could, and it helped to elevate what I was doing. So it just very organically started to happen, and so I record. The SD file, Philip gets the SD files. He gets everything, makes sure everything looks right visually, sounds good. Sends it to Marcus. Matter of fact, I have a hard drive in my car. I got to go drop off tomorrow or something. And Marcus just sits with it. He edits it, and then he sends it back to me. And then I do all the, I do the schedule posting. I chop it up in Opus, and then I put it in. I use Opus and Riverside, and then I put it. Then you start seeing my reels on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have to tell you, y'all have beautiful video. Now, I ain't gonna say, half the work is done for you because you up here in the valley, and the viewscapes, the landscape is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pull out a Viewmaster and still be like, damn, that was fly. But the visuals are really, really high end. They look good, and I think they capture so beautifully what people come to expect of this region. So shout out to your team of people. I do want to ask you, this is interesting. I was just having this conversation with my podcast editor the other day about when you are trusting, when you're working as a team, and so you have to trust some person to iterate your vision through editing, right? And the conversation we were having is about what role should the client, or does the client need to have in the editing process? Now, I've had both. I've had a situation where the editor had me sit in the damn editing sessions. We doing it together.
Yeah.
And then I had many where I just turn over the video, and they give me something back because they understand like my brand, or they understand my taste level. They have their own taste level, and there's a trust there. But I would imagine you have to work up to that when you are the face of the podcast. You take all this video and then you turn it over to somebody, and you hope it comes back looking like what you envision it needs to look like.
Yeah. Before I answer that question, I also want to say that there's another gentleman that partnered with me in this journey, Cam from Media L3. I got to give him a shout out, because all my on location sites outside of my very first one, his company is the one that comes and does the shoots with me when I'm on location. Now, if I'm in the studio, it's the original core I was telling you about. So yeah, I don't want to, because he's gonna hear this and be like,
Cam, you on your job. You on your job. The vision.
And he's helped to elevate it too. So I don't want to bypass that. But yeah, I mean, in mentioning Cam, which is interesting about that is that, when we started doing the on locations at the wineries and the vineyards, it's like, in the very, very first couple, it was like kind of couple conversations like, I don't think I like that. I don't, this and that. And it's not that anything they did was bad. It's just what you say, preference, right? And so, but I will be honest, like one thing I knew for a fact is that we've had enough time where nobody really knew us to work those kinks out. You understand what I'm saying? So even, it's like, yeah, okay, locally, people know what's going on, but I'm still encountering people. Right now, it's moving at an elevated pace, accelerated pace, and there are people who are just now, you're starting to people learn who you are, figure out, oh, this is the thing. But it's locally, a lot of people have been following and watching it for a while. But I'm saying all that to say this is that we've had time to work out the kinks and get our flow of how we like it to be. And it didn't really come with a lot of conversation because listen, they were lending their skill set and their expertise. And I wasn't about to critique it so hard. They was like, we ain't messing with this. You know, you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, you know, in the beginning, it's like, I'm just like, thank you. You know what I mean? So, and whatever you give me, I'm going to use that, right? Humbly, right?
See, this things I want to extract out of this. First of all, y'all heard him say in the beginning, we was, you know, making all not mistakes, but you're just making your way and figuring it out. And I know a lot of times people are so reticent or they're so, you know, ticky, as, you know, the word goes. They're so particular over the things they're producing in the beginning. And I'm like, the beginning is the time to fuck up.
It's the time to mess up.
Ain't nobody checking for you.
Yep.
And you can be making all kind of what I call iterative mistakes. You do it, it doesn't work. You do something else, you do something else, you do something else. Looking back, there are things that I wish I would have done faster in seasons 2, 3, 4, because I could have been doing other things. Yeah. There were systems, there were practices and just ways of operating that I didn't adapt maybe until seasons 5 and 6 because I just had the room and the space to do them. But a lot of those conversations, if people go all the way back to the beginning of the catalog, seasons 1 and 2, I would run those conversations totally different now.
Yeah.
But you're learning.
You're learning, yeah.
And that's the time to do it.
I've even had people tell me, like, I watched for them, your conversations are getting so much better, so fast, right? And that's true. Like, I know I'm gifted. I just text someone today, and I'm going to name drop them. So,
come on now.
I had text someone today, and I ain't gonna name drop him, but I text him.
Nah, come on, drop that name. Drop that name.
No, there's a gentleman. No, I'm gonna reserve it. But okay. I met this gentleman. He's pretty high profile, and we met in collaboration on my journey by just happenstance. And we exchange information, and you know, we text each other once in a while. You know, doesn't come out here to Napa often, but he's like, hey, when I come to Napa, I'm gonna reach out to you. You know, and that's kind of cool to start building relationships. But I texted him today. I said, you know, you are gifted. I said, there's a lot of people who are talented. I said, but you got a gift in your respective what you do. I was like, that's where you're going to get your biggest connection from. You're going to always connect with people because of your gift, not always because of your talent. Yeah. You know, I can learn to do a backflip. But there's gonna be some people who just gift, you know what I mean? Maybe they approach it with no fear. You know what I mean? They gonna do the they're just things that people are gifted at. And so the guys that came along with me, they're gifted at what they did. And I just, in the beginning, number one, because it wasn't like they were on salary or payroll. There's a couple of episodes in the beginning where the audio ain't the best. We had great mics. The setup was good, but we weren't positioning mics right, or I didn't know to direct people. Like now, if I'm having a podcast episode and I see you're too far away, I'll tell you. I'm not going to, because I understand.
You're not waiting for post-production?
I'm not waiting for an hour to pass I'm not gonna let this hour pass to correct. And we got editing skills too, so I can stop in the middle and be like, hey, can you speak closer to the mic? Because I've had previous episodes where people's voices were going in and out. Yeah. And nobody's gonna finish that episode.
You learn that over time.
You learn that. Yeah. Yes. So now I'm more commanding and demanding, right? Not only of me and myself first, but my crew, but the persons who come. Like, hey, when they come in, I'm like, this is what it's gonna be. This is how it's gonna flow. I tell them that before they get there, but I always tell them again, you know, once they get there. So now I understand things. You're more of a conductor than anything else.
It is. And, you know, I had to learn that over time because there was so many times I didn't want to break the flow of conversation. Yeah. And my thought was, we could just fix it in post-pro. Yeah. And my podcast editor was like, no, you can't always fix it in post-pro. So don't rely on that. Yeah. If something is going on in real time in the episode, you need to go ahead and address that. You know, even if it's small corrections, small tweaks, you can go ahead and do that. So these are things you only learn in the doing.
Even just a second ago when I started getting warm, I was like, turn on the fan. Like, if you don't want to edit it, you can't. If you do, right? But what I wasn't gonna do is sit here and burn up and talk to you, right? Because
what we're not gonna do is burn up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so it's like, like I understand. I want the guests to be comfortable. That's another thing. Like, we're in a warehouse, so when it gets hot, we brought fans in, like those lo-fi like fans that don't make a lot of noise, that you can blow, keep the guests cooler, or heaters to keep them warmer when it's winter, right? Yeah. It's just different things that you learn that make the person's experience. Because one thing I know for a fact is that when that person leaves, he's gonna have a conversation with somebody about his experience.
Absolutely.
And I want everybody's experience to say, hey, when you go there, they're gonna take care of you.
Yes.
You know, there's a lady that came. Oh God. There's a lady that came. So we were at this event, and she came on my podcast impromptu because she was in town. Mm-hmm. And when she came, she was very demanding. But once I knew who she was, but during the conversation, I learned more about her. Okay. And once I learned what she did, she was in the music industry. She wrote some really popular songs that we would all know if I were to say it. Mm-hmm. And so, but when she walked into that studio, she was telling all of us like this. I had emailed you about some of the things that I wanted when I got there. You had the water, but you didn't have this. And I was like, okay. But I learned from that moment. Like, when my guests elevate, I remember a quick story. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Because
this is important. But you cannot buck up. Yeah. These be opportunities for you to be like, okay, I need to step it up a little bit.
And I didn't get offended. So I move with a lot of humility too. So I'm not like, I didn't get offended. But I remember this story about Mariah Carey back in the day. I heard years ago that when she was on tour, she would make the hotels, either she brought her own toilet seat or she demanded that they changed it.
That is very Mariah.
When she got there. Yeah, I remember hearing that story years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I was young and I had never been in entertainment. And then I'm like, who is she to be asking? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But she's like, I travel the world. I'm not going to put my ass on a seat that thousands of other people, you know what I mean?
And I pay my dues.
Yeah, I pay my dues. I can ask that, right? Mm-hmm. So now that I'm in this space now, it's like, you want to start attracting high level guests, they're going to come with
riders.
So are you going to do it? You going to have an attitude? But not only that, it's showing me how to be prepared before they even get there.
Yes.
Like, okay, if these are going to be the demands of people, I might not know every demand, but there are some basic essentials, right? So I'm learning that in real time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned that in real time. So when somebody come, I'm like,
you learn.
I learned. Yeah.
I remember when I learned, I had to transition from making podcast arrangements with people in the DMs. And I was like, oh, it's time to move from that.
Yeah, to the email.
Because everybody's not doing business in DMs. I had to get templates. I had to get a whole system of communication. It changed.
Can I tell you, literally, that is the transition I'm having literally over the last, I would say, 2 months. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of phone call, text, DM conversations are now email and PR teams.
Yeah.
This is my first, I just had my first 2 interviews that were set up with PR teams. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this is new to me.
Yes.
Right. And I'm like, okay, I'm learning in real time. Now I'm a lot older, so I can adapt a lot faster. Right. But I'm not Mr. Corporate. Mm-hmm. My wife, she be on me. She was on me today about something.
Come on, girl.
And that was before you got here and you heard her on me about whatever was going on around the house. But no, she's very like, no, you have to be on top of that. Don't say you'll do something if you can't meet the demand.
Yes.
Not that I don't want to limit that I'm just a barber. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is
it's a different environment.
It's a different environment, right? And but I also want to say too is that one thing that I will say about Napa Valley in particular is that you don't have to be in the wine industry or food industry to learn to operate in excellence. So if you want to have something and do something and represent a place like this, you have to be able to do it. It doesn't have to start off, but it has to be as excellent as you can.
Yes.
For where you are.
Yes.
But as things progress, they have to,
But you have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. Yeah.
You have to start somewhere. And being, not just being in an environment where excellence is a thing, but when you're doing something, you want to be good. You want to be excellent and do your best. And the podcasting space, it's crowded and it's competitive, right?
It is.
How have you navigated being in a competitive space without competing? That is tricky. because it is competitive, and you do need to be aware of the market around you, the tiers. Like everybody, I'm not on the Charlemagne tier, and I'm not on, but it depends. There's a tier that everybody's on, and you need to know who's around you, who's on your peer, or who's on your tier. You need to know what is happening in the space around you. But there's a difference between being in a competitive market and being competitive.
Right. So I think I have probably, that I know of, one of the most unique situations that most podcasters can start off with, because there have been podcasts here before, but they've been super insider industry podcasts, where they weren't really doing it for the sake to scale. They were kind of just doing it because, hey, I'm a winemaker, I want to do a podcast. There's a lot of wine podcasts, right? There's a lot of wine, which I discovered after I started mine. But I'm one of maybe two in here in Napa. So I'm really...
You're probably one of a few black men as well.
Or I'm the only black man. Yeah. And that's so I've been blessed to kind of create a lane that there is no competition in thus far, but once I get semi-successful where I'm at now, people are going to try to jump in and be like, ooh, because what you do is you show people and you make them believe that it can happen. And
you're saying black men in podcast in Napa about wine.
Yeah, there are other black wine podcast people, and shout out to those guys. I've watched, I follow them on social media.
Shout out to Jermaine Stone. He was on season 5 of the podcast.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he still does his podcast, but another brother who got an excellent perspective on wine.
Yeah. And see, even with him, is he a sommelier, or is he what is he doing wine?
He kind of refers to himself as a lifestyle somm because he came up in wine auctioneering.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So he's industry insider.
Yes.
Whereas me, I'm not industry insider. I didn't come up in wine. I didn't do any restaurants, which I am going to start my WSET journey to become more knowledgeable of wine.
I don't even know what that means.
So WSET there's Napa Valley Wine Academy. Shout out to Napa Valley Wine Academy, which I'll be partnering with here soon.
Okay.
That's the school. That's the education piece of. So let's say you say today, I want to become a sommelier or something. You either go through the quartermaster somms or you do the WSET journey.
Okay.
And that is where you learn the regions, you learn the different vineyards, you learn the different varietals, you learn about the grapes, you learn about the process, you learn everything you need to know to be able to work in the industry.
Got it.
And so I'm going to be doing my WSET 2 and 3 with them.
Good for you.
And I'm not doing it to work in wine, but I'm like, okay, you're here. I've had enough conversations. I need to become more astute.
Yes.
As my grandfather would say. There's other people who have it, but I'm the only one who lives and resides in Napa. And so that's what separates me. And also, I was a part of the community before I even started this. So once I started to go on this endeavor with the podcast, I think they were able to support it because a lot of people come here to leech too, right? It's Napa. They have a lot of money and they can throw a lot of money. They'll take the money and do whatever it is that you want to do. But what I'm doing is highly organic. It's very organic. Like Larry June would say, it's organic, It's highly organic.
Well, this is what I think a lot of times people do not understand or they take for granted about what I'll call the business of podcasts. Because I know, we all just saw like the Netflix deal and, major corporations are getting involved in the podcasting space. And I'm going to stop short of calling it a money grab because a lot of times there is no money to be grabbed.
Yeah.
But people see podcasting a lot of times as something to get in to be monetized.
Yeah.
Right. Like as I'm traveling around to do the podcast, I mean, we all hope for some money.
I want to get to the money.
A lot of times, especially in the early days, and I would be like, going different places. And I remember somebody asked me, oh, well, who's sponsoring you for the podcast? And I thought that was such a strange question because if you are not willing to monetarily bet on the thing you want to do,
right.
And, thankfully I'm blessed to be able to do that. But if you're not willing to monetarily bet on the thing that you're willing to do, why would you be pitching this to businesses, asking them for their money? You're not even putting your money into it.
Right.
Right. It's like, let me see what you were able to do on your own without that much resource. and that becomes to me the case when you go take this to a corporation or a company or a brand and you ask them to get in partnership with you. So I do want to talk to you about what I would call the business of podcasting, because to me, 50% of it, and I feel like, I could even say 60, 70, is the relationships.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's the relationships. It's being in cooperative relationships, not just beneficial relationships, but like mutually beneficial. Yeah, the PR company can do some things for me, but it's like, well, what can I do for you?
Right.
Right. What are goals or marketing things? Like, what are you trying to get in front of the public that you're having a difficult time doing, or that, particular demographic that you're trying to get things in front of? And I will also say this before I let you answer. One thing I have found as far as the business of podcasts, when it comes to monetization, the podcast sometimes is not the thing that draws the money.
Yes.
The podcast is the thing that builds the credibility that allows you to go into other spaces that will then pay you because you have built the credibility through the podcast.
Right.
So like you when you're doing a podcast or you're setting out to do one, I would highly encourage people to not be linear in their thinking about what the payoff is, monetarily or otherwise, what the payoff is and how to get there. And I will also say, and I did a post about this not too long ago, you got to be ready to put in your 10,000 hours because podcasting is very celebrity driven nowadays.
Yes.
And you're going to get in line behind a lot of people who ain't as talented as you, ain't as gifted as you, but they got a platform because they were an athlete, they were a model, they were a rapper, they were whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to get behind them.
Yep.
And if you can't take that, if you can't sustain yourself over the time it takes for you to get on par with some of these people, there's a lot of people who I'm like, this is going to sound foul, but I'm just being honest. I'm going to beat you out just on consistency alone.
Yep.
Because you stopping and starting and stopping and starting
Yep.
and stopping and starting. And
Yep.
there's so many podcasts that when you do that, again, nobody's checking for you like that. You just fall off their radar just that quick.
Yep.
You have to be consistent. And so that means when it is not yet something that is generating money, if that's all you in it for, you ain't going to be here long.
Yeah.
At least not in the beginning.
You say that, and I think for years, and not just way before podcasting, but I used to think, like, well, if you ain't in for the money, what you in for? I love that song. I'm gonna take you back some old hip hop.
Come on,
you remember
man.
Tupac? I think he had that group called the Outlaws, and on one of the songs, he said, "I got a question for that dude Paparazzi. If you ain't in this game for the money, man, then what you in it for?" You know what I mean? And so the whole point is that was to Exhibit, and Exhibit had a song saying, "It's a shame you only in the rap game only for the money and the fame." That was one of the choruses of one of his songs. And so, but the point is, when you think about, you take nobody's doing anything not to get paid. That's number one. So I understood that saying doesn't mean that I'm doing what I'm doing and I don't care about making money. It's that I love what I'm doing, that I'm willing to build it until it does make money.
Amen.
You know what I mean? That's what it is. And that's the thing, is that I love this, that, to be honest, if I was already just well off, like really, really well off in my business career, I would do this for free because I enjoy this.
Yeah.
I enjoy, like, that's why we're sitting here at my house talking and having a spread and drinking wine, because this is fun to me. I mean, yeah,
I'm having fun.
Yeah, I'm having fun right now. You know what I mean? And so you get to learn so much stuff, but the business side of it is starting to become more real for me at this 1 year mark.
Yep.
Back to saying, now I'm my last two dates that I connected with are through a PR. So that's a different level of conversation. That's a different level of understanding of how to work and negotiate things, right? So they're believing in me and they're believing in what I'm creating. And so it's created another level of responsibility.
Yeah.
Another level of back to the excellence. of making sure I'm showing up, making sure that they have all the details needed, making sure that I'm doing the things that I said I do on my end, so they can do. It's doing something in me that I've never really had to do at this level, and it's really making me a better human because I'm walking around with a different level of like expectation for myself, as well as even how I would conduct myself. You know what I mean? Sometimes we be out because Napa's it's a wine country.
It's a small town now.
It's a small town. So your little mishaps and your little, everybody gonna know.
Like the Meet Me in Napa host is out here acting a plum fool.
Yeah.
And we saw it.
I had told sometimes me and my wife would be out, and there's been times she'd had to pinch me. And be like,
get back in line,
baby. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, it's time to go. Not because I'm just known to be a fool. That's not my thing. But, you're having a good time. And when you don't have a public image, you can be free. And I can say something about that, too, is that's something I never had to deal with, too. Because, listen, I'm not famous by no extent. So I'm way more cognizant of that now. Of just like being in places, people recognizing me, and I don't know their name, and I don't know who they are. And people that I met before and I done forgot their name and all kind of stuff, right? So yeah, it's just a whole nother level. But I will say I wouldn't want it any other way. And I'm so glad it's not instant fame either. I'm glad that my first 2 videos didn't go viral. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm glad that I didn't have that one hit wonder type ordeal. To be honest, I've had some local viral, but I haven't had that mega viral, cross, country platform where the who's are liking it, and all that kind of stuff. But I know it's coming.
It's coming.
And to be honest, I ain't even chasing it.
Just do the work.
I ain't saying I don't want it. I'm just saying I ain't chasing it. Because I think me doing this at the stage and at the maturity of age that I am, I understand different levels of success as well. Like if I could ride this wave and make a career out of it that is that feeds me financially, well, I was to triple what I can do now. And I just ride at that level right there. I live with that. I don't have to have all the millions. You know what I mean? I want them, but I'm just saying, if I walk away and I can walk away with $1 million annually just from podcasting, who would have ever thought it? You know what I mean? Who would have ever thunk it? My granddaddy would say, I would have never thunk it. And so, so I'm not like trying to limit myself to 1 million. I'm just saying, but who's, the percentage of people who are making $1 million a year off whatever they do, you in the 1% now.
That's right.
And so, if I could do that by sitting here running my mouth and drinking wine and being invited to great dinners and eating food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also want to say something too, and I'm sorry to hijack your conversation.
It's okay.
One of the biggest things for me though, is that when I grew up in Fairfield, because I was, we talked about San Francisco, but my parents moved to Fairfield when I was about 12, and I spent Suisun actually, Suisun, but Suisun, Fairfield, the same thing. It's the same city. Napa meant no African people allowed when I grew up. So for a black man to be here today, that looks like me, who really is culturally black. That got to be said, right? And I don't want to, not on the negative tropes of being black. I'm just saying, I got dreads in my hair. I my podcast named after Larry June. Like it's just it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But I know I want a young 19-year-old to say, oh, I can go to Napa and get in the wine industry. Oh, I can go there and be a head chef at a restaurant. Oh, I can go be an executive of an estate if I work my way up. Like financial corporate America is not the only place you can garner wealth for yourself. There are a lot of successful people here. And even the plus side of what makes Napa so beautiful is whatever you don't make in money, you make in lifestyle. The parties, the community, the invites, the wine, the food, everything is at an elevated level here. And this has been honestly for me the best years of my life. it's been the best years outside of some, like childhood memories. I've had some really, really great childhood memories. I don't have the stories they like to tell Hollywood of black family. Both my parents was together. My daddy never slapped my mama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He never came home drunk.
We had some act right. We had some act right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But for me, these have been the best years of my life. I met my wife. I've been married, divorced, all kind of stuff. So getting to this stage in life, to where I'm at, I'm just happy. I'm just happy. You can't tell me nothing.
Well, listen, cheers to the best years of your life. Cheers on your upcoming
and
1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Better years are coming. I'm rooting for you. I'm a fan of what you're doing here. Congratulations to you. And I can't wait to see what is coming up next for you. I'm going to wrap us up with 5 fun questions.
All right.
Now, I do my research on people. I did my research on you, and I found out that your favorite movie is Mo Better Blues.
Mo Better.
So we're going to play a game called Mo Better Wine.
Okay. I'm about to say, I better not miss no answers on Mo Better
Here
Blues.
we go. The perfect wine to pair with a night out at a dimly lit, moody jazz club. Because that was the backdrop for Mo Better Blues.
The perfect wine to pair. Oh, okay. Well, it depends on what we eat. Are we going to go white or red?
We ain't eating at the jazz club. We just drinking.
We just drinking.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go with either a nice crisp Sauvignon Blanc, Napa Valley, or I would go with a nice Chablis.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Jazz club, y'all heard it. Speakeasy, all the things. Okay, what's more better? A dinner with multiple wine pairings or finding one bottle you love and enjoying it for the full meal?
I think both are right.
What? You can't ride the fence?
No, I'm going to tell you why. So, because they're both different experiences. And let me say this. Mm-hmm. The reason why I say that, because there's nothing like being able to try multiple wines, because you get to learn wines that you don't have to buy the whole bottle, and you get to learn it, right? Fair. And usually the people who are preparing that already know that they've created the food to match it. But that is not always the case when you go out to eat. Mm-hmm. You might not always have a bottle that matches unless you're knowledgeable, right? Mm-hmm. So when you just absolutely just find something that you luck up on, I would say this. One day we were eating and we had a bottle from this place called Freemark Abbey. Mm. And I ain't never had their wine before. We drank that bottle. It was so good. And everybody at the table, it was my first time having it. And we were some friends in there. And when we came over, we brought them. They were like, can you bring that bottle? We had it. So I will say they both in. But to luck up on a bottle that you just love and drink it all is equally as good as pairing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could go either way with that. Yeah. All right. Here's another one. What's more better? Day drinking in a tasting room or at a vineyard?
I'm going to go vineyard.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm going to go vineyard. You can't.
Tasting room is just like being at a bar.
Yeah. Yes and no, but yes. But I will say the other thing too is I don't care how many vineyards I see. Every time I see a new one, it's like the first time. Mm-hmm. It is.
Gorgeous spaces.
It's gorgeous spaces, yeah.
All right, here's another one. Blue cheese can be overpowering. What wine would you pair with it that complements without altering the flavor? I know you're not a wine expert, so this is just personal taste. This is personal taste.
With blue cheese, you're going to make me sound such a novice.
The blues,
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's fine. That means we just have to drink until we find something.
And then somebody hear this, they be like, man, you hear that answer?
Right. You ain't about to trap me in no bad answer. I hear that. Okay, look, we'll put an asterisk next to that. If I find out, I'll let you know, and vice versa. Yeah. Here's the last one. Denzel Washington's character in the film was notoriously torn between two women he loved. Which two wines are currently battling it out for the title of your favorite right now?
Battling out for my favorite wines. So I would say more white varietals as a whole. Because I really started off with falling in love with Pinot and Cab, right? But now I'm really into my white. I didn't really get into my white wines until this last year or so. So that's why when I first answered with Chablis and all that stuff, that is a new Semillon wine. I really, really like that. That's a new varietal that I've been drinking. And I'm still learning a lot of the like old world red wines. Still learning a lot of them from like Bordeaux and like France, and there's Spain. Like there's just so many different, Italy, of course. So yeah, it's kind of like a lot of that battle right now between just getting new varietal, because there's a typical Chardonnay that a lot of people know from the beginning. There's of course there's rosés and stuff like that, but for me it's like getting into the ones that aren't so as popular until you really start to deep dive into them. So
you ready to go into your class?
I'm ready to go.
All right.
I want to say something though.
Yes.
Thank you for that research. I really like that. No, I really like that. That was really good, because I think that for me, Mo Better Blues was the first cinematic love story that I ever fell in love with.
Okay.
That was, because when you grew up, it was always Gone with the Wind. And, not that I grew up in those times, but I remember those movies were so popular, right? And so when Spike Lee did that, I fell in love with jazz music because of that movie. So one of my dream interviews is to have, Spike Lee come in here to Napa, and we're going to be sitting at a vineyard someday.
Dreams becoming true.
And, I want to talk about that, man. So that battle between Spike Lee and Denzel and Wesley Snipes is epic, man. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Dreams becoming true. So Spike, if this falls across your radar somewhere, plan to meet him in Napa. Tell me where people can find you. Tell people I know where to find you. I'm at your house.
You can meet me in Napa.
Yes.
Don't get my address out.
No.
But like social media, it's all social media. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, it's all Meet Me in Napa Podcast.
Okay.
And Facebook. Meet Me in Napa Podcast. That's where you can find me. And if you guys hear this and you want to partner with me in any way, I'm so approachable. Get at me now, because it's blowing up quick.
You better buy on the ground floor.
I tell people all the time, like the relationships I'm building now, as it grows, that's who you go back to, and that's who you show the love to, right?
It's just how it works.
It's just how it works, right? And so, hopefully, people see the value in what I'm doing, and I'm thankful. I know my team does, and I know the community does. But the fight is to get the people outside of that community to really be invested in you, but that comes with consistency and hard work.
You're on your way.
Yeah.
You're on your way. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you for helping me bring in season 7. If you want to keep up with me in between episodes, you can find me at kayinthebay.com or on Instagram at heykayinthebay. That has been the first episode of season 7. I will see y'all soon with a new episode. Bye.
Bye.